see some tans, probably some really bad golf games, and as we get started here, I just want to say, first of all, really excited to be back. When the players come back, there's just so much energy. I know we've been back for a week, but to have everybody back and kind of see what everything that they're doing over the summer, and so it's good to get back, get to work. We got a lot of work to do. Got a great group of guys in this locker room. We got a lot of work to do before we get to where we want to be, but I'm confident that those guys have what it takes, and so that's exciting. I also want to touch a little bit on Kenny Clark and our extension that we were able to come to last night. He is the model player that you kind of want to build a program around. Obviously, he's a great player, has been as consistent as you could ever imagine, and we're just really excited to kind of be able to extend him and then let him lead that group for the foreseeable future. And I'll take questions.
How close is something with Jordan? I know you had said you prefer to get something done before camp. Is that something that could happen here in the next couple of days?
Yeah, I think so. But again, you never know. I mean, we're working really hard to get that done. I think it's really important for us. At the same time, the thing that I have confidence in is that we both want the same thing, right? We want Jordan here for a long time, give him that stability for him, and it gives us some stability for our group as well. So, Russ is doing a great, a great job with, David Mulugeta and their team. Got two people who are very experienced with this, so I'm optimistic. These are big deals. It takes time. They're not as easy as some people may think.
Has he or any of his people expressed any reluctance to practice or play in any preseason until you get it done? Or?
No, that's a good question, Rob. So yes, I think it was Saturday night. They kind of informed us that until we get something done, that he would not practice again. So unless something gets done here before practice starts here pretty soon, he will not be practicing. But again, I think this is something we're all working on, and we certainly understand where he's coming from. We'd like him to be out there. It's important for him to be out there. Obviously, you guys know how important practice is, and working with his teammates. So, but as of now, until we get that resolved, he will not be practicing. He'll be taking part in. He reported last week. He's taking part in everything else.
What are the barriers? I guess not speaking specifically about years and dollars, but just generally speaking, you mentioned it's become more complicated than a typical contract.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. But we're going to keep those things internal. We're not going to kind of talk about those things openly. But it's a really good working relationship between Russ and his agents. And like I said, it's these things are they're big deals, and it takes a little bit of time to get it right for for what we need. But I feel we're close. But no real timetables as far as how long it's going to take.
When you negotiate with a quarterback, how do you kind of marry, we want to certainly give you what you deserve, but at the same time, your number's going to affect what we're able to do, kind of down the line?
Yeah, certainly that's part of the process. And, we're aware of that, they're aware of that. And it's really just finding common ground, which, again, we're really fortunate to have Russ kind of in the role that he's in. He has so much experience, and, just, again, confident that we'll find that common ground hopefully soon.
Goody, is it? Again, I know you don't want to get into specifics. Mm-hmm. Is the challenge, though, you guys obviously love Jordan, you're very confident he's going to be a really, really good player, but kind of like you said about the fifth-year option, it's a lot of money to pay a guy who hasn't played. Mm-hmm. Now it's a lot of money to play a guy who had a really outstanding one half of a season. Is that part of where the challenge comes in, or not really? No,
I mean, I think that certainly we're very down the road as far as we know that he's our franchise quarterback, and we're ready to move forward. It's not like we're trying to make that decision. But at the same time, we want to put the best team around him we can, and we want to make sure that there's certainly the structure of it so that we can do what we need to do for our football team moving forward, not only this year but in years to come, is very, very important. So again, like I said, it's this is just part of it, not unexpected, and we'll work to get it done, and hopefully he won't miss too much time, because it is, we got a lot of work to do. We think we have a very good football team, but we got to come together as a team, and he's a big part of that. So him being out there is important for us, but we'll get there.
What happened with Jaden Reed?
Yeah, I think he just tweaked something in his camp. I don't know if an 8-year-old beat him on a route or something, but we don't. It's nothing that we expect to be too long.
Do you feel that even back in the spring that Jordan might miss or sit out some of these practices, or was that a surprise to you?
I wouldn't say, I mean, it's not something, I think, you all know when you're in these things that if you get to a certain point, there's a certain level of risk that a player takes by going out there. So, you're always aware that could happen. Certainly we want him out there. He's been very open and forthright with us as we've gone through this. So, but back in the spring, I don't think I was thinking in those terms, but certainly that's a possibility with any of these players that, you're going down that road with.
Ryan, how do you deal with expectations? And you still have a relatively young or very young team, but just, when the word Super Bowl comes up or whatever on the outside, how do you deal with that this year?
Yeah, we've always had really high expectations within this building. It never really changes for us. And the external expectations, kind of are irrelevant. We know what we have to do, which is focus on the day-to-day and the process. And, we got a lot of talent. We got a lot of really good guys in that locker room, but whether it'll be up to them, if they put in the work and sacrifice the things that they need to sacrifice to become a team. And, kind of going through last year, I'm confident they know how to do that. So now it'll be just a bit of a choice, but it's, I think, the hunger that our guys are showing right now is, I think that gives us a lot of confidence and we're very excited about it. What's up, Pete?
Not much, how you doing?
Good.
Got me off the Stairmaster early today.
Brian, how much, if at all, did the Sunday ticket situation, affect your negotiations with Jordan? Does that have to play part with how the salary cap could be affected in the future?
No, only with the way it affects the salary cap, right? And how if the salary cap goes up, then there's it just changes things to a certain degree, but not a lot.
Is there a lot of, I don't want to say pressure, but is there a lot of expectations on Bullard and Cooper, considering where they were drafted and the holes that they addressed on defense?
Yeah, we have high expectations for all those guys, but again, I think you touched a little bit earlier about us still being a youthful team. We might be young from an age perspective, but a lot of those guys have pretty good experience, for as young as they are. So I feel really good about these young guys coming in and how they've approached things so far. Training camp's a whole different animal, and obviously the season is as well. So we'll see, but I think we have a lot of high expectations, not only for the rookie class coming in, but certainly some of the returning players.
Any kind of timeline or expectations for Tucker and Zach?
Well, so yeah, Zach's going to come off PUP this morning, so he'll be out there today. He'll be a little limited as we get going here, but he's doing great. So Zach will be out there. Tucker's going to be a little bit longer, but they're both, doing very well, probably ahead of the curve. So again, I don't think it's anything we're concerned about right now.
What did you see out of Clifford last year? Obviously, we don't get to see any of the practice once the season starts. What do you see of his development, and what did you think of Pratt on the other hand during the limited exposure?
Yeah, no, I think they're both working exactly how we want those guys to work, and they have a lot of attributes that we like. Sean last year I thought did an excellent job coming in here and winning the backup job. You guys saw him in the preseason. This is kind of his ability to compete and handle the moment. I think we expected a little bit of that just with the amount of football he had played at Penn State in a major college situation like that. And I think he continues to grow on that. So excited for him to see what he can do in year two. Michael's done a great job since he's been here. He's played a lot of football as well. Certainly has been a winner in his time at Tulane. So, this offense takes a little while to really master. So he's in that process right now. And as you go through that process, there's going to be good days and bad days. It's just part of it. But I think he's done a nice job so far.
Brian, what's going to decide the kicker battle, and how long do you think you'll go with three guys in?
Yeah, as long as it takes. That's an exceptionally important part of what we're doing here, and so we have right now, at least we have the roster flexibility to carry three kickers. So until somebody kind of wins that job, we'll keep churning it and moving down that road until somebody wins it.
Brian, what have you seen from Jeff Hafley from your perspective? Obviously with Matt LaFleur, he was talking a little bit about it's nice to have another head coach in the room.
Mm-hmm.
From your perspective, what have you seen? How he's been able to handle being back in the NFL?
Yeah, you kind of hit it. I think a lot of guys that have been head coaches before, I think do have that 30,000-foot view sometimes, and maybe a little bit more long-term thoughts, and have gone through some things. But he's exceptionally bright. Just really like his kind of his style with our players. And just it's a really cohesive group. so far. Again, it's early, but like to see their kind of, Jeff and how he's leading that, the defensive staff, their teaching methods and how they go about it. It gives us some confidence for sure.
Give an update on Catan. I know he told us he'd be ready by training camp.
Yeah, doing well. I don't think it should be too much longer, but he's doing well. Just got a couple of hurdles to clear, and then once he does that, he'll be out there.
Hey, Goody, you kind of said after last season, the success you had that kind of confirmed your idea that it's a young man's game. How do you feel about how young guys handle success and maybe handle expectations, right? Like last year, there weren't huge outside expectations. How do you think this group will handle kind of a totally different dynamic?
I think it remains to be seen. I do have a lot of confidence in the individuals. How they handle it individually and as a team, we'll kind of see. But again, for me, it's just I think it's the constant. I think Matt and his staff do a fantastic job. Not only that, but our support staff, that supports all these guys, do a great job. And trying to preach to these guys that it's the day-to-day process. And no matter what the result is from game to game or practice to practice, that's where the focus has to be. And it's this game. It's hard. It's hard, and it never stops. And I think if you think you've arrived, it's going to be taken away from you pretty quick. And sometimes young guys don't maybe realize that, but I think we have some pretty good examples. We were talking about Kenny Clark before. I mean, you talk about somebody who is consistent in his preparation, the way he goes about his business as anybody. Every rookie that walks through here, we preach to him, to look at somebody within our locker room that has done it the right way and has had a lot of success and try to take what you can from those guys. And I couldn't think of a better person than Kenny to do that with. So, and we've had a number of them around here, but those are choices that guys make along the way. And again, I do have to give a lot of credit to Matt and his staff and how they approach that with our young players, and it really served us well last year. And so again, it remains to be seen, but I do have a lot of confidence that these guys will handle things the right way.
What did you see from Kenny last year, and what do you think sort of allowed him to stay on that ascent, throughout the course of this, 8 years already with you guys?
He's just a pro's pro. He takes care of his body, puts the right things first, and the main thing's the main thing for Kenny. And he loves football, and I think to play as long as he has at the level that he has, you got to love it. He certainly loves football. And he's an unselfish team guy, I think he's all about winning. And, again, he is the exact example of the kind of guys we want in that locker room.
How big of a problem is it to have the depth you have at wide receiver?
I don't really look at it as a problem. I think it's. I think we've talked a lot in here over the past couple of years about, competition is going to bring the best out of everybody. And for me, it's just about those guys continuing to compete and staying healthy, and continuing to grow into a professional where all those things are habitual and they don't even have to think about it. But as they move into their second and third year in this offense. I think from past experiences, when those guys really start to take off, where it's more about, they're not thinking about things anymore; they're just playing. And I think that'll be a good spot to be in if we can stay healthy there.
Matt said he saw Christian to be in the best shape he's been in, and he seemed really confident that he figured out his stuff in Madison over the offseason. What does he look like to you, and how excited are you to see him back?
Yeah. Christian, from the time we started scouting him, has been always in elite physical shape. I mean, he always has. I think, obviously, with some of the injuries he had coming out of college, there were some imbalances there that we've tried to attack. I know he's done a great job, and he's doing everything he can to make sure that he stays out there. But this game is a violent game, and so I'm very confident he's done everything he can to stay out there. But we'll see. But I'm confident that he's done everything in his power to make sure that he stays out there, and we need him to stay out there because we are a different team when he's out there.
You were asked earlier about Jeff Hafley. Other than kind of you drafted this entire defensive line, do you think that maybe Jeff's system is a better fit for the guys that you've picked for that group?
Well, that's a good question. I think we preach around here to try to be as versatile as possible, right? So whatever scheme comes around, we're going to be able to play in it. And I really do think our front, and that now includes the edge guys as well as when we talk about our defensive line, is exceptionally versatile. I really like the flexibility. If whatever injuries strike during the course of this season, I think we can move some pieces around and they can do everything. I do think our guys are excited about the ability to get up the field and be a little more in attack mode. I think they've probably said this much in talking to you guys. And again, you got to learn how to play that and play that effectively. That takes time. It just doesn't. You just don't roll out there. I mean, there's some different things that happen in that front. But yeah, I'm excited to see how they go about it with that group in particular. Until we get pads on and we see how they're doing that in that kind of realm, you know, we'll see how it's going. But they're all very capable. I love the ability for us to move those pieces around and come at you in waves. You know, so we're as deep as we've been there in a while.
The decision to not pick up Stokes fifth year, obviously, is this just a show me year for him, and how motivated do you see him so far?
Yeah, that's unfortunate only because it was really because of injuries, not because of play, you know, just, but at the same time, you know, he looks just like Christian. He's attacked this thing, couldn't ask more from what he's done. He's kept a great attitude about it. He looks great. So again, as we get into this part of our season where it's probably the most stressful on these guys' bodies and minds, you know, I think he's ready to attack that, and we need him. And I'm expecting a big year from him.
Brian, when did the conversations start with Kenny and his team to get this new contract extension, and why was it important to get it done now this offseason instead?
Yeah, sometime this spring. You know, again, Russ and Kenny's agent Doug Hendrickson do a great job. Two veteran guys, so you know, we started talking a little bit about that. Kenny was going into the last year of his second deal that we did with him. So it was something we thought was important. Certainly, I'm sure he thought it was important as well. And again, not only is he an elite player, but he's an elite locker room guy. So it made a ton of sense. And he's, you know, quite frankly, for a third contract guy, which we don't do a ton of, he's a very young player. He's played a lot of snaps and he's played a lot of football, but he's a very young player. And you guys have been around him. He's kind of built to last. So hopefully that is the case.
Brian, for you personally, you're at a real similar stage in your GM career as Ron Wolf and Ted Thompson were when they won Super Bowls. Do you feel, you know, I think they might have had an inkling going into 96 and 2010 that they were on the brink of something big. Do you kind of feel the same way?
It's hard for me to tell because I don't really know how they felt during that time, so it's hard to. I do feel really good about this group. You know, I like the way they work together. I like what's important to them. I like their ability to put the team before themselves. You know, again, every year's new, and they got to do that again this year. You know, with whatever challenges come this year. But I feel really good. You know, I like the way they work together. And I'm excited to get started to see if that continues, and I expect it to. But, you know, every year's a new year. There's so many different challenges. I think the thing that I'm most confident in is that whatever challenges are thrown at them, they won't blink.
What was your thoughts when Lawrence and Goff got paid, considering the situation you're in? Trying to work things out with Jordan, and then these other numbers start popping up throughout the offseason.
You know, real reaction. I mean, we kind of expected those things. So I don't think it's much of a factor in how we move forward with Jordan. So we've, you know, the market and the outside things that happen are always part of it. But, you know, for us, it's just more about the Packers and our team and what makes the most sense for us.
You guys working out other, you know, quarterbacks that might be available? Did any of that have to do with maybe wanting a third arm if Jordan wasn't going to be able to practice?
Are you talking recently here?
Yeah.
No, we were working out some receivers. We needed someone to throw the ball because this arm's not what it used to be. So I will say that if we get down the road and we feel like it's going to be a number of days before we're able to work something out with Jordan, we will only have 2 quarterbacks for practice, and we will need an arm at some point. No, you know, yeah, no. But we'll see how that goes. You know, we'll be prepared. I mean, that was, you know, whenever we bring in skill guys to work out, we usually try to bring in a quarterback to throw. Not only, you know, so we can evaluate the receivers, running backs, tight ends that we're looking at, but also, I mean, it's also a good check to see where these quarterbacks are in case we get into a spot. You know, a lot of times when we're working guys out, it may not be for an immediate situation. It may be for our emergency board, just to make sure that these guys still belong on our emergency board, are still in shape, still ready to go, things like that. So I know everybody likes to read into things when we bring guys in. It's usually something like that.
Like your arm was ever good. You were a linebacker.
Easy. I could pitch the ball like anybody. Yeah.
second. It makes Preston Smith the outlier on your roster, being the only 30-year-old that you have, I think. Why was it so important to keep him on this team, and what does he give this team in that role?
Yeah, Preston, a lot like Kenny, just really represents, so many things that we value. I mean, I think in 155 games, he's missed one, again. But his attitude that he brings to practice each and every day, the leadership he shows to our players, and the guy can still really play, and since we've picked him up in that 2000, I guess it was 19 free agency class, I mean, he's been there every day, you know what I mean, and he's still very much hard to handle for those tackles. So yeah, he's a major part of our football team.
In terms of locker room, I know the players know this better than you do, but do you get the sense that not only is McKinney bringing you a potential elite level player, but maybe a cultural impact that goes beyond just how good he can be as a player?
I do. I think, he certainly did that in New York. I thought he did a really good job. He was a defensive captain there from a very young age, which is, you don't see a lot. And I do think he's played a lot of football, even though I think he's still just 24. Guys like him don't come around very often that have played that much at a high level and led like he had. So, yeah, again, it's a new season, and all those things, that equity that players build, they don't just happen walking in the door. Usually, you got to earn it and you got to build it. And but so far, from what I'm seeing from him, he's as advertised.